What's up guys, it's National Master Dem Apples here, back again with another video, and today I'm going to be showing you the Title Tuesday game between Magnus Carlsen and Hans Niemann. Now, there's been a lot of drama and controversy with these two over the years, so this is a really cool game, and let's take a look at it. So, Magnus starts out with knight to f3, and we get a very interesting opening. We see Magnus fianchettoing his bishop, and Hans probably looking to do the same, when he realizes, wait, Magnus is also fianchettoing. So this is kind of a funny double fianchetto setup, and we have pawn to c4, trying to strike at the center. Since white just developed his bishops, he hasn't really taken up much space in the center, but he's going to have to do that sometime. d4, and now Magnus plays this very interesting move, and pretty instructive as well. Pawn to b4, trying to break down the center. Now, you might say, oh, this is a free pawn. But it's like an eye for an eye, right? Magnus can take back, for example, with a knight. And the reason why this is good is not only are black's pawns doubled, right? But a central pawn, like the one on d4, is worth so much more than a flank pawn. For example, the one on b4. Anyways, knight to c6 is played. Pawn to b5, gaining some space. Knight b8. The opening moves aren't exactly important. We have castles. Pawn to e3. Magnus is still trying to chip away at the center. I can't speak English right now. Pawn takes with the f pawn. He takes with the f pawn. Now, this is a blitz game, and I'm pretty sure that now pawn takes this way, taking away from the center and keeping the pawn structure more intact, is the better move, but it doesn't allow for as much play. For example, here. This is the kind of position Magnus would win most of the time. But if you look at it, right, the pawn structure is completely symmetrical. And if black plays well, he defends, and it's a draw, right? Of course, white has a bit more space. He has slightly more active pieces, as you can see. But it's going to be hard to win. F takes e3 is played, however. And now all hell can roll loose, right? Because now white has an open f file and is looking to gain a lot of central space with pawn to d4 sometime. Meanwhile, this does weaken the king a little bit, leaves d3 a little bit weak, and leaves the queen not open, so the queen might have a harder time finding a good spot. But let's take a look at what happened in this game. We get knight b to d7, a4, gaining more space, knight b6, and now knight to a3. This looks like a very logical move, and honestly, I think it's fine for the most part. Pawn to a5, pawn to d4. Both sides are just going through with their plans. I don't really trust the annotations given here. Knight to g4 by Hans is a really nice move, attacking the weakness on e3, but also unleashing his dragon bishop. And now Magnus messes up. He goes queen to e2. The reason why this move is bad is really simple, right? The queen was defending the pawn on a4, and now it's not. So, yeah, knight takes a4. It's just a free pawn, and it would be attacking the bishop, and black would have a ton of pressure, and actually black is completely winning here. However, Hans, which seems to be a theme in this game, is missing these little opportunities and plays a bit passively, going for bishop to h6, which is just a one-move threat that is parried pretty easily with the move knight to c2, defending the pawn on e3. We have pawn takes pawn, and again, Magnus makes an interesting choice not to play the obvious move, which is keeping all the pawns together, preparing to advance them all at once. Magnus makes the not-so-obvious choice of not taking with this pawn, which would alleviate him of this weakness, and this taking with this pawn makes a lot of sense, right? They're going to advance in the center, but he makes the unconventional decision to take with the bishop, again, allowing more play for his pieces. This keeps the d file open, so rook a to d1 might be pretty powerful. And it leaves him with more options, as you can see. Now his bishop is open as well. However, this is a slightly worse move, but again, this is a blitz game. Magnus just wants to have some fun. So we get queen to c7, prophylaxis against rook to d1. And we have pawn to c5, gaining some space, which seems to be another theme in this game. Knight d5, rook d1, bishop e6. And now, pawn to b6, queen c8. And we can see that Magnus's advantage definitely lies in the queen side. If we ever get to an endgame, this bishop and this pawn are going to absolutely kill black. And we'll get to see this later in the game, but if black can hold on, he has to create some sort of counterplay against white's weakness on e3, or maybe on the queen side by moving his knight and then trying to exchange off the defender of white's king. Let's see what happens though. Knight to d2 is actually a pretty bad mistake by Magnus. Again, it's a blitz game, you can't really blame him. The idea is really smart though. He's trying to maneuver his knight to c4 or to e4. The problem with this is that it simply, well, hangs a pawn. Knight takes b6, and after pawn takes knight, queen takes knight, and black wins a pawn, because now the queen is not defending this knight, as we can see. So, knight to c4, again, knight f6 was played. Hans did not see this. Rook to d8, knight to e5. Now the knight's on a really nice square, and white has some simple plan. He's just going to go queen b5, probably, maybe rook to c1. Try to force in c6, opening up his bishop, but more importantly, allowing this pawn through, and he'll just simply win the game. So, Hans needs to do something immediately, finds pretty much the only move, knight to g4, trying to exchange off this knight. This knight is helping white to play pawn to c6, and he does not like that. Knight takes g4, and you might say, like, oh, what is Magnus doing? He just allowed a skewer. Well, first of all, bishop f3, and there is no more skewer. But second of all, Magnus says, nope, I'm giving you my rook. And for some reason, Hans is like, nope, I'm not taking your rook. Now, there is absolutely no reason not to. I would only assume that Hans was scared of some ghosts here after bishop takes d5. For example, like rook takes d5 could go really badly. If you try to grab a lot of material, you just get mated. But after bishop takes d5, there's this really nice move, e6, attacking the bishop. And now, both bishops are hanging, but black is up material, and should be able to win the game pretty soon. Bishop e4, takes, and yeah, black is simply up material. Maybe you won't win the game because white's got a lot of space and some very active pieces, but black should not lose this. But we have queen b5 because Hans did not end up taking the rook. Bishop d7, and Magnus here misses the opportunity to go for this insane tactic. So he could have taken this free knight here, sacrificed his queen, bishop takes pawn check, forcing the king to f8, and now, not bishop to e6 check, because bishop takes f1, right? So you have to make a move that blocks the bishop from taking your rook. So bishop c4, say king e8, queen f5 is also possible, but it just gives away a queen. Bishop takes bishop, rook to d7, for example, and now bishop e5. And despite being up material, black is absolutely cooked here with his rook on d7, and he's going to be losing it for free. White is completely winning here. So bishop takes d5 would have been an amazing tactic. But bishop e6, and both sides are just moving. It's worth noting that Hans is up about a minute on the clock here. A minute 17 to 18 seconds, so Magnus is just blitzing out moves. f6, but a very nice move, e4, just trying to open up the position. Now, with this sort of battery, black's king could be a little bit weak. Magnus also gets rid of his weakness on e3 with this move. Knight b4, this is the best move, but it just hangs a pawn, and you know that you never give a free pawn to Magnus, because he's just going to grind you down. And strangely enough, he makes this strange strategic mistake. Now, this mistake is common amongst beginners, not common for Magnus, but, again, he's really low on time. The reason why bishop f3 is bad is because the light squared bishop is white's good bishop. As you can see, most of white's pawns are on dark squares, right? And meaning that the light squared bishop complements these very well. So this is his good bishop. This is the bad bishop. So Magnus should not be trying to exchange off his good bishop. And takes, and now Hans plays e5, presumably trying to win the game, taking advantage of this pin. But unfortunately for him, Magnus has this really nice move, queen to b3 check. I thought Magnus was doomed, but he shows not, right? Now the queen defends the rook and checks the king. Now the bishop can move back safely. And the rest of it is Magnus simply implementing his plan of crashing through with c6 and b7. Bishop g7, not much you can do here, even when Magnus is low on time. Rook b3, as you can see, getting ready to push the pawn. c6 takes, queen f7, takes b7, and now everything is coming through. There is absolutely nothing that Hans can do, and he resigns the game. So a really really a roller coaster of a game, a really exciting to watch. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this game as well. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.